Welcome back. Today we're doing a deep dive into the work of an author named Blaise Onfaya.
Yes, and we're looking at a whole collection of her material, her Fayaverse course, which is called Cultivating Reciprocal Love, and her book Lovers and Haters.
And what's so fascinating right off the bat is that this isn't your typical self-help relationship advice.
Not at all. It's a really unique synthesis. She's pulling from, global research data, but also her own deeply personal experiences, her trial and errors, as she calls them.
And all of that is filtered through a really profound spiritual lens.
Yeah.
So our mission today is to unpack that. This is a guide for women on finding genuinely healthy reciprocal relationships.
Exactly. And it's grounded in some very serious foundations. We're talking psychological insights sitting right next to biblical principles, the Decalogue, the two greatest commandments, specific scriptures. It's robust.
Which moves this way beyond just, how to get a date.
Yeah.
It really starts with some serious self-work.
It has to. That's her entire starting point.
Okay, so let's start there then, with what she calls the essential prerequisite. Blaise Onfaya's first piece of advice is just so direct.
It is. She says that if you are not a whole, well-rounded individual healed from past hurts, then a committed relationship is the absolute last thing you need.
The focus has to be on self-love first. Radical self-care.
It's completely non-negotiable for her. She has this foundational concept she repeats over and over. Hurt people, hurt people.
Right. And she makes this distinction that if you focus on the hurt, you just keep suffering. But if you can focus on the lesson from the hurt...
That's where the growth happens. That's the only way out of the cycle.
The way she puts it is so vivid. She says if you're hurting, you have to stop walking around bleeding on everyone.
Such a powerful image. The instruction is almost like a paramedic's. Apply pressure, clean the area, and get plenty of rest.
In other words, stop looking for a partner to be your personal surgeon. You have to do the healing yourself.
And when you understand her background, which she is incredibly open about, that urgency makes perfect sense.
Talk a little about that.
Well, she's very transparent about her life. I mean, raising 8 children with 6 different men, a failed marriage, and surviving just immense abuse. Verbal, physical, sexual, both in childhood and as an adult, domestic violence.
So when she insists on healing first, she is speaking from a place of deep personal experience. This is earned advice.
Absolutely. There's so much weight behind it. And she connects that unhealed state to this self-sabotaging pattern she calls the heart-on-ice phenomenon.
So what is that exactly? It's a survival mechanism.
Yes, a survival mechanism where you're so terrified of being hurt again that you just emotionally freeze up. You put your heart on ice to protect it.
But it's a protection that backfires, I'm guessing.
Massively. Because that lack of emotion doesn't bring safety. It brings stagnation. You have no progress, no motivation. And here's the irony.
That's that.
That fear makes you push away healthy people who might actually be good for you. And instead, you run straight toward the people who will hurt you all over again.
Because it's familiar. It confirms the story you're already telling yourself, that all relationships end in pain.
Exactly. You end up creating a self-fulfilling prophecy of failure. It's a huge psychological insight.
So that's the internal work that's mandatory. Okay, let's shift to the mechanics of actually building a relationship once you've done that work. The core pillars.
Right, and it all starts with communication, which she defines as a two-way process. It's not just about talking.
It's about sending and receiving. The goal is actually understanding the other person, not just, waiting for your turn to speak.
It requires active listening, genuinely taking in what they're saying. And she has very firm rules about communication boundaries.
Like what?
Like, you speak directly to your partner about problems. You don't go venting to your friends or your mom first. If you're airing your dirty laundry outside the relationship, you've already broken the trust.
Because love without understanding can't last. That's her line, right?
Yeah.
You can love someone, but if you don't get them, the love is basically useless.
And that flows right into the next pillar, respect and loyalty. And she defines respect as something much deeper than just affection.
Oh, yeah. It's about genuine approval and admiration for who your partner is, their qualities, their achievements. It's acknowledging their inherent worth.
And the thing that just kills a relationship is disrespect. Lying, cheating, belittling them.
It's poison.
Yeah.
And the source material points to a finding here that is, well, it's pretty stunning.
Go on.
It suggests that many people, and men in particular, would rather be in a relationship without love where they feel deeply respected.
What?
than be in a relationship where they're told they're loved, but they feel constantly disrespected.
They would trade love for respect. That's a huge statement.
It is. It implies that respect is a primary need. If you feel undermined or held in contempt all the time, hearing "I love you" just feels hollow. It's meaningless.
Disrespect becomes an existential threat to your place in that partnership.
Wow.
Okay, so that leads to reciprocation, the give and take. Yes, and this is about a deeper connection where you both accept responsibility and you consciously shift from what you want to what your partner needs.
And she shares a very difficult personal story here to illustrate this, doesn't she?
She does. It's about a time when her partner had a need for reciprocal intimacy, something she was withholding because of her own past trauma.
And he started to feel, what was the phrase? Like he was working all week without receiving his paycheck.
Exactly. It became this metaphor for his emotional needs not being met. And because they couldn't or didn't communicate openly about it, that neglect just festered.
And led to toxicity and infidelity.
It's a brutal lesson. But the point wasn't about the specific act. It was about the breakdown, the failure to communicate a core need, and the failure of one partner to reciprocate. If only one person is giving, it's not a partnership. It's exploitation.
So if healing is the foundation and communication and respect are the mechanics, then the final test is achieving unity.
And that means dealing with the outside world. This is where she lays down a really hard rule, and it comes straight from Scripture.
Which is,
a couple's relationship is no one's business but the two involved, and God himself. Full stop.
a closed-door policy. She says that nosy family or miserable friends will try to interfere.
Because misery loves company. They don't want to see you happy. And biblically, the foundation is that a man leaves his father and mother and cleaves to his wife.
That act of leaving creates a new private unit. And bringing your problems to outsiders violates that sacred space.
It does. And speaking of outsiders, she also gives this very stark warning about what she calls finesse kings and queens.
Okay, so these are basically scam artists, serial daters.
They're extractors, not builders. They're looking for victims, whether it's for time, energy, or money. A huge red flag is when they're overly interested in your job or your financial situation very early on.
And the advice for dealing with them is pretty simple, isn't it?
Surprisingly so. Set firm boundaries. And just say no, often. The source material says that a firm boundary is usually all it takes for them to just exit on their own. They're looking for an easy target.
Which brings us back to building that strong, unified team. She's a big advocate for a 100% effort model, not 50-50.
Yes, and that's a critical distinction.
So what's the real difference?
Well, 50-50 creates a scoreboard. I did my half, did you do yours? It's transactional. The 100% model means you are both fully 100% invested in the success of the relationship.
So it's not about splitting every bill down the middle. It's more like one person pays the rent, the other handles utilities.
Exactly. Or one cooks, the other cleans. It's unified effort toward a shared goal, not just keeping score. You're in the same boat, rowing together.
And that unity really depends on being, as she puts it, equally yoked.
Absolutely essential. It means you share the same core beliefs, the same values, and you're on the same page about where you're going in life.
If you're unequally yoked, you're just pulling in two different directions.
You're out of sync. And she says those relationships are pretty much doomed from the start. Alignment is everything.
Okay, that brings us to the final, maybe deepest part of this, the spiritual and psychological side of connection.
And she has a really counterintuitive take on confidence and insecurity.
How so?
She says that true confidence actually requires the presence of insecurities.
Wait, how can confidence require insecurity? That doesn't seem to make sense.
It's about courage. She argues that a person who can admit their flaws, who can be vulnerable about their insecurities, is showing far more real confidence than someone who hides behind a mask of perfection.
So vulnerability is a strength.
It's a superpower. The advice is to own your flaws, give your partner space, and avoid that trap of jealousy.
And she also uses this spiritual lens to distinguish between two types of connections people get confused about all the time, karmic and twin flame.
A vital distinction. A karmic connection is intense, it's a strong bond, but it never actually goes anywhere. She calls them blessing blockers.
That's blessing blockers, wow.
They show up in your life for a season, usually to teach you a hard lesson or trigger an awakening through pain.
So the lesson is the point, not the relationship itself. And the advice is you have to let them go to get your blessing.
You have to. They serve their purpose, and then you have to release them to find peace. A twin flame, on the other hand, that connection is different. It also triggers a spiritual awakening, but it's a bond that can't be cut. It's designed for unity.
And to wrap this all up, she expands the whole idea of intimacy. It's not just one thing.
Not at all.
No.
She details 12 types of intimacy that have to be part of a healthy relationship.
And it goes way beyond just the physical.
Oh, way beyond. You have emotional, intellectual, spiritual, of course, but also things like creative intimacy, working on a project together, and recreational intimacy, just having fun.
And you mentioned one that really stood out to me, conflict intimacy. That sounds like a total contradiction.
It does, but it's maybe the most important one. It's the intimacy of learning how to fight well.
How to disagree without destroying each other.
Exactly. How to resolve conflict, how to repair the damage, how to forgive. If you can't master conflict intimacy, the relationship can't survive its first real fight. Any of these 12 areas, if they're starved, can break the whole thing.
That's a whole diagnostic tool right there for a relationship. So we've really covered the whole journey here, from the mandatory self-healing all the way to understanding the deepest mechanics of connection.
And through it all, there's this one recurring challenge she puts to the audience, a theme she is really passionate about.
What's that?
She says that both men and women are constantly generalizing the other sex. You know, all men are like this, all women are like that.
And she calls that a major cop-out, a cowardly way of thinking.
Yes.
Okay.
Designed specifically so you don't have to look at yourself and change for the better. It's easier to blame an entire gender than to admit you keep choosing the wrong type of person.
Which leaves us with a final, provocative thought for you, the listener, to take away from all this.
A challenge, really.
Right. If we accept the premise that hurt people, and we also accept that generalizing about the opposite sex is just an excuse that keeps us from healing, then how do you consciously approach dating? How do you break that cycle and make sure you're seeking a relationship built on individual accountability instead of just hiding behind a shared excuse for toxic behavior? Something for you to think about.
Yeah,